Somehow, I find myself here again, a reoccurring dream that keeps me asleep, a cycle that I cannot explain. Am I dead, and this is my heaven? Or am I alive, and the cycle is hell? If this is hell, then let me drift forever. A familiar cycle, a sweetness I can taste. The sun, the birds, the trees. If it's true, then let me drift forever. I had a goal for this fight. I wanted to build a treehouse, something cozy, high up off the ground, a base that would bring me closer to the sun. And in order to do that, I had to claim this tree. And so, I got to work, collecting wood and preparing to build. I wanted to make this treehouse out of wood, for obvious reasons. When I think of a treehouse, I think of wood. I didn't want to waste too much time, so I began building as quickly as I could. I was just getting started, and already the vibes were perfect. If you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Orange. Be sure to subscribe, because I post chill content like this every week. I didn't have an exact design in mind, so I left my roof open because I wasn't sure exactly where I would be building up. But what I did know for sure is that I was planning to build as high up as I could. I chose this spot as my access to the second floor, and then I continued to build upward. The swamplands were peaceful, at least up to this point. Many animals lurking in the area, yielding plenty of food and low grade. Every now and then, while I worked, I noticed others passing by. They could potentially be threats, but up to this point, they weren't. Now, this is still rust, and moments like this are not completely avoidable. But I didn't let that hold me back. I tried my best to remain completely focused, building my cozy treehouse. It was safe to say that I had claimed the spot, and I was planning to expand the base much more and decorate it to my taste. But in order to grow, I needed more resources. I continued the grind for scrap and resources, and from time to time, I would make a risky run to the supermarket in attempts of recycling. The less clutter, the better, and in exchange, I could bring home something valuable. But on this particular run, I had company waiting for me at my door. Make note of this name. I became very familiar with it. That night, he returned. I found it very difficult to defend this base, but I did the best I could. At this point, I decided to grab the majority of my loot and get as far away from the base as I could, storing the items in a small box temporarily. This guy didn't have a mic, but our conversations were carried out in the chat, and I have to admit, he was a likable guy, not as aggressive as he seemed. I decided to move the remainder of the loot into my airlock, the airlock that would soon become the downfall of this raider. At some point in the conversation, he said this, and I decided I wasn't going to respond to make it seem like I logged off, but in reality, I was planning to seal up the base, and so I did just that. The last thing I did while repairing my base was head over to my small box and bring back the loot that I stored away. I can't lie, I really considered upgrading my base to stone. I even took the time to farm that stone, but I just couldn't convince myself to do it. What kind of treehouse is made of stone? I told myself if I was gonna get raided, the raiders were gonna do it regardless, stone or wood. So to me, it was better that I stick with the cozy life that I wanted for this treehouse. And now that my base was fixed up, I shifted my attention back to collecting scrap and loot. And on my way to the supermarket to recycle, I was struck by the beauty of the sky on this rainy day. The gloom was rampant, but the sun breaking through was enough to put my heart at ease. It's moments like this that keep me coming back wipe after wipe to this game. I don't think the developers know exactly how beautiful of a game they created, and someday, if they ever see this, I hope they get the idea. To me, this is artwork, and artwork is beautiful. At this point in the wipe, I was ready to expand even more. So initially, I expanded outward with the goal of moving upward soon after. Overall, the wipe was going well. Sure, the raid attempt threw things off, but at the end, it wasn't that bad, and I was able to rebuild and continue. I was feeling really good at this point, and I was excited to see where the base was gonna go from here. All good things take time, and loot is no exception. And so I started my day like this, with a crossbow in hand and a mace over my shoulder, ready to farm the road. After dropping off my loot, I grabbed a pickaxe and I went out to my spot to see if any new nodes appeared. There was quite a bit of unfinished work on the base, so I took this time to finish up as much as I could. I was in need of a lot of wood, and I mean a lot of wood, so I grabbed some of the stone that I had just collected, along with some low grade, and I found the closest train to me. I hopped on, and I headed to Outpost to do some trading. Somehow, I made it, barely. And while I was here, I decided to cook up some of the crude oil that I had. Not only did I need it for the ride back, but I would definitely need it more later on. The ride back was dark and dangerous, but it was a risk that I was ready to take. If I could get this wood home, I could finish out my base. Finally. And just as the sun was rising, I arrived home, safe and sound. It was time to finish up the base. And from the top of my tree and the balcony of my base, I overlooked the world outside. I had accomplished something that most couldn't, and I was hopeful that I could keep it. But I know how this game is, so I attempted to enjoy what I had as much as I could before its inevitable fate. Now that I had some more room upstairs, I decided to move my loot so that my TC and loot were in two different places. Every now and then, while farming, I would be in a position like this. And as you all know, I'm not looking for trouble. But when shots are fired, I won't stand down. While I was recycling at the supermarket, this happened.
Hey, bro, can I get a start? Yo, can I get some tools? Come on, man. I'll just leave you be.
Now don't get me wrong, I'm not one to reject another solo that's in need, but asking for guns is just plain lazy, especially when I'm over here grinding. I've never been a beggar, and I'll never be a beggar, and because of that, I don't respect the beggars. Speaking of grinding, it was time to go underground. And in the peace and comfort of Outpost, I recycled. And soon after, I purchased some weapons. Recently, they made it harder for players like me to progress in the game, but there are always ways around it, and this is one. I live for moments like this, complete peace and quiet, to watch the sunset from the top of my base so high up is truly an experience.
Cool base.
And soon after, the stars show up, shining and bright, almost as if they're speaking to me, reminding me that everything is okay. Enjoy the moments that you have now, because tomorrow is never guaranteed. If you always live in the now and appreciate what you have now, you can never regret anything. And when the sun finally rose again, I continued the grind by farming some more nodes in order to keep my furnaces cooking. And I can safely say that I spent time in my base, enjoyed the wood finish of my walls, enjoyed the tree cutting through my base, all within my treehouse. Not a typical treehouse, more like a castle in a tree, high up in the sky. And this is the moment when everything changed. My castle in the sky, like the castles of a beach, crumbles under pressure. Not every castle is meant to stay standing. Some are destined to return back to the waves that brought them. And when I opened my eyes again, I was here. No sleeping bags and no base. And as I made my way in that direction, I found a horse, and so I took that horse and I rushed to my base. I had been offline rated. Again, all good things can't last forever. And so I climbed the tree around my base, and I entered from the roof. If you think this is the end of the journey, you would be mistaken. I could argue this was only the beginning. My treehouse base was raided, but all that meant to me was it was time to build something new, somewhere else. I don't believe in giving up after being raided. It simply means it's time to start new. From a treehouse to only a few berries to my name, it was time to start over. Time to change things up with a stronger base. So I got some wood in the forest, laid down a shelter, and started planning. I knew I wanted to build my base here in the forest, somewhere secluded, away from everyone else. And this spot was perfect, so I took some time and began to loot the road while discovering the area, making sure no trouble was too close. Eventually, I found this spot, an area on a hill that spawned nodes. Now, it was too exposed for me to want to build my main base here, so I decided to do some farming, and then I took over this small 1x1 and made it my farm base, a farm base that I could return to. When I had a decent amount of resources, I took them to my shelter. And then I started building. I began to move over some of my loot from my shelter to my main base, along with a few boxes that I have found. After I did some hunting, it was time to expand. Sometimes you get into a flow and you're progressing very well, and the last thing you expect is this. It was time to build my loot room. That way I could pick up my boxes off the floor and give myself some space to move around. And then I began the process of moving my loot into my loot room. Over time, after periodically spawning out here and farming, I started collecting a lot of stone and metal, and on one particular day, I decided it was time to move it all to my main base, and this happened under 2 trips, 2 very risky trips. I finally got a tier 2 down, and if you recall from the previous parts of this journey, it took us a while to get there, but luckily we had blueprints. That treehouse base served us well, but here, things were safer. Since I just farmed some extra stone, I decided to honeycomb the base and build out the second floor. With a saw in hand, I made my way over to my farming base to bring over some more loot, but it's safe to say, this time was much harder. And when night fell, I made the run. I was ready to get rid of some things I didn't need, so I crafted a backpack and I loaded up on loot. And when I was done, I headed out my doors and made a run for Outpost. An offering for his patience. But sometimes solos think alike. I spawned back at home and I started building my shop. That way, I could bring loot home safely, similar to what I did in the treehouse. I was finally safe. I took a sip of my wood tea, I grabbed my hatchet, and I collected enough wood to last me a long time. With a gun in hand, I was ready to take on the Rust world for the first time this wipe, and I wanted to start this by going underground because with a gun, the process is far easier. And as you'll see in the final part of this video, things begin to shift in my favor, and I owe that all to the fact that I never gave up. And the journey continues, a solo chasing a dream. After recycling, I activated my shop and I sent home my scrap. And then I made my way back down. I hopped on a train and I burned through the tracks all the way home. As soon as I got home, I put all my loot in boxes and began taking the steps to setting up electricity in the base so that I could power my electric furnaces and my lights. As the storm was getting worse, I made my way outside to set up the wind turbine. As the rain covered the rust world, I took a moment to appreciate this peace. Farming was really good in this area, but unsurprisingly, other players had the same idea. And then, this happened. Since the area was so hot, I decided to wait until it was dark to collect all my farm and make a run to my main base. After I did a bit of roaming and found a green card, I decided to set up a locker just in case I got raided. I was ready to get a blue card, so I headed out to the satellite dish in hopes of finding one. Now that I had a blue card, I needed to prepare to do missile silo, and for that, I would need a good amount of cloth, so I headed to the supermarket to do a little recycling. I had waited long enough to do this, but it was time to upgrade the bunker to metal. Now, I was ready, with a Tommy in hand and a blue card in my pocket. I made my way to Missile Silo.
I know I can't escape. Up here too many days. Can't tell what isn't fake. Shake me, I need to wake from under
I could hear someone moving around down here. The player I killed on my way in was probably back, so I proceeded with caution.
Tell me, has he hurt you? Does he really get underneath your skin? Tell me, has he broken you? Have any checked your phone tonight?
I was finally at the bottom of Missile Silo with the red card waiting for me.
Just soak in biotech. Just soak in biotech. Just soak in biotech.
After all this time, there really was someone down here, but instead of risking it all, I just headed back home. And this brings the wipe to a close. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to my YouTube members, dreamers. Stay chill.
After all this time, the name's still there. Could a place like this ever be built up again, I wonder? No, never. Too far gone. So still.
You've been watching an Orange Dream production.